Hey guys, I'm designer and contractor Anthony Carrino, and I own a lot of POLYWOOD furniture. So here are my tips to help you assemble your POLYWOOD furniture. First, I like to assemble on an elevated surface. It helps your back, especially with those heavier pieces, so keeping things elevated is definitely a lot more efficient and a lot friendlier on your body. Second, I use cardboard either from another piece of furniture or the piece I'm opening to protect the surface I'm working on, and more importantly, to protect my brand new furniture. So let's get it open and we'll go from there. Now, one of the things POLYWOOD tells you is not to use a sharp knife when opening these boxes. If you are gonna use a knife, you wanna use a retractable blade and just put the tip out just a little bit so you don't have any issues. Now, this is obviously a lot more important when you're opening cushions, but you don't wanna scratch your furniture either. So make sure you pay attention to that. They'll have labels on the boxes if it's something you can damage. Now, once you got everything unboxed, the first thing you want to find is your hardware pack. This has all your screws, all your hardware to assemble your POLYWOOD furniture. Most importantly, it also has your instructions. Now, obviously the hardware is going to vary depending on the piece of furniture you get, but every set comes with a T-handle, which is basically a 4mm hex key. If you are comfortable with power tools, I highly recommend getting yourself a 4mm hex key and setting your drill or your driver to a medium torque setting. You don't want to over tighten anything. You don't want to strip any screws, but this is going to make your life a lot easier and make assembly a lot faster. So one of the nice things about the POLYWOOD instructions, the sizes of the hardware that's printed on the paper is the actual size of the hardware to scale. So if you're ever in doubt about what is what, you can match up the hardware right on the POLYWOOD instructions to make sure you're using the appropriate hardware in the appropriate space. And I can tell you, I've put a lot of furniture together over the years from a lot of different manufacturers. These are some of the best instructions I've ever come across. So what I like to do is take a read through all steps. So we're putting together a modern Adirondack chair here. There's 4 steps. So I just give it a brief glance. I take a look, I make sure I understand what's what, and I tend to take all my hardware and break it up by size, just so it's easy when you're putting things together to have all the like parts grouped together. Then when you look at the letter of the corresponding hardware part, it's much easier to find. Now, while POLYWOOD does give you a 4mm hex key, in some cases, like with this modern Adirondack, you've got nuts that are gonna go on the end of these bolts. My go-to is the channel locks. I find I can get them in all the areas I need to. It's easy to grip the nut, and it's much quicker than having to fit a driver head on the nut each and every time that you're trying to tighten something. So that takes care of instructions, hardware, and tools. Let's get to assembling. So one of the first things I like to do as I'm looking at the instructions now for a second time is kind of move the pieces where they're supposed to go for assembly, meaning on the correct side of the piece of furniture. And if we have a windy day, I also use my POLYWOOD lumber to weigh down my instructions. All right, so first thing we're doing is putting on the front legs. So when I go to assemble, what I'll do is put the hardware in the first piece that's going to attach, and then everything lines up real easily. And with these machine screws, the difference between a machine screw and a wood screw, machine screw is gonna have a nut that goes on the back of it, and a wood screw has got a coarse thread that's gonna drive into the actual POLYWOOD lumber. We'll talk about these in a second. But with the machine screws, everything slides right into place, and then the nut is the device that's going to sandwich these things together. So you can get these nuts to go on hand tight, and then you're gonna hit a spot where you can't hand tighten them anymore. It's got a locking mechanism inside of it. It's a poly ring that sits inside so that these are never gonna loosen on you over time. So what I tend to do is I get my nuts on the back of the bolts, get them hand tight. Now I'll do the first one with the T-handle to show you. So I grab it with my channel lock pliers, grab the nut with my channel lock pliers, put the T-handle in, and then you're just gonna twist it until you get tightened all the way. And that's it. Now, you can see that using the hand tool is going to take you quite a while. When you've got the driver, again, set to a medium torque, and you're done. So it's that quick to get them on. And when you're doing a bunch of chairs or a lot of different hardware, it makes an absolutely huge difference in terms of speed. But again, you gotta go at your own pace and you gotta do what you're comfortable with. These T-handles do a great job, and this is not a garbage tool. This is the best tool I've ever been given to assemble furniture that actually comes with the furniture. Okay, so we've got our arm on and we need our first cross member. Now with the cross member, we are using a coarse thread wood screw. So that means that this is going to go right into the polywood and bite into that polywood lumber. So what we want to do when we're using the wood screw is, number one, you're going to set the piece of lumber on the back side where it's supposed to go, and it is machined in, so you'll know exactly where it's supposed to fit. The other tip I have for you is that you put your screw through much like you do with the machine screws, and then you line the hole up, push back up toward the top, and now you know you're in the perfectly right spot. Last thing to do before you grab your tool is just hand tighten it just a touch. It'll go in, it's meant to give. So now we're hand tight, this isn't going anywhere. Now I can take my driver, since there's no nut, we don't need to grab our pliers. And you drive the wood screw in. Now, if you notice, I kept a good firm grip on this cross member here. There is, again, a recess that it goes into, but you don't want to let this start spinning on you. So holding that nice and tight as you drive the screw in will take care of that. So now this Adirondack chair is very manageable. It's light, but if you do have a bigger piece of furniture, I recommend grabbing a friend and assembling together. Those tabletops are large, they're a bit unwieldy, they can be pretty heavy. This is substantial furniture that you've purchased. All right, so again, on the other side, we're repeating what we did on the first side. Drop our machine screws through, line them up in the holes. We're gonna put the nuts on the back. So we need our channel locks and our driver. Hand tight each one first. Okay, nice and tight there. Cross member is in the right spot. We grab our wood screw. Again, hand tighten to start. So I can see that the holes line up. Now we're grabbing our longer machine screws, which will require a nut. Screw through. Oh, doing it backwards. Sometimes you get them reversed. So when you hand tighten this screw, and I get this question a lot on the arms, and you let go, well, the arm is a bit unwieldy. So don't worry about it. You let go gently. It falls just a touch, not a problem. What's going to happen here, as we grab our nut and tighten in, so now we've got a nice tight pressure fit. So as I lift this arm on the chair, it's going to hold its position. Totally fine. It doesn't have to be in its exact position while you're tightening this first screw together. All right, repeat the same step on the opposite side. Step number 4, putting on the back, and we are done. One other note, POLYWOOD tends to give you an extra nut in each and every hardware pack. Something that I keep in my toolkit. You know, every now and again, you might have a missing part, you might need an extra nut somewhere, so having the extras a good thing to hang on to. Now with the back of the chair specifically, I do my bottom first. And again, we're hand tightening these. So I keep one hand on the back of the chair and I put the wood screw through and we find that hole. It takes a little moving around, but you'll find it as soon as it seats. And then you hand tighten that, just 1 or 2 turns. And then we switch to the other side, get it close. And then again, we find our hole, hand tight, and then up top. There it is. Hand tight, and that's it. You're fully assembled. It's that simple. So if you're all done and you have no other furniture to assemble, the only thing you got to do is take your instructions, take your cardboard, recycle it. Remember, that's the Polywood way. And then it's off to enjoy your new furniture. Hope that was helpful, guys. Thanks so much.